So when did you decide you wanted to be an actress?
Well, I was 19 and I was going into my junior year of college, and I was doing a summer program with Anne Reinking. It was called Broadway Theater Project, and she pulled me into a stairwell and offered me a job on the spot with the national tour of Fosse. And I called my mom, and she was, I think she was a little bit, and it was in Japan. We were going to Japan for 2 months. She was a little bit like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know
How
about
exciting,
this.
though.
And
God,
yes,
yeah.
but and it was very exciting, and I just made it happen. Like, again, I was like, Mom, I took, thank God you pushed me to take all those AP classes, because I was accelerated. I was ahead of my class.
Yes.
So I was able to take the semester off and not lose any credits. So I did that, and I went. And I came back, and I hadn't declared a major yet because of I went to Yale, so it's liberal arts, very kind of like you didn't really have to declare a major really until your end of your junior year. And when I came back, I was like, I want to do this. This is my heart, my passion. My mom was she was really supportive.
That's great.
So I was.
So when you came to Hollywood, then where were you?
Well, I went to New York first.
Okay.
My biggest dream was to dance on Broadway.
Okay.
And so I did that. And
What age?
I moved to New York after college, so I graduated, I was 21, 22, and I was on Broadway within a year. So I was 23, I guess.
Okay, so how do you make things happen? I mean, nobody comes away with those stories like that, or very few. So
I really feel like it's...
Do you map out a plan? Did you say, this year, this is what I want to do? Did you put it on paper? How do you structure your days?
Well, I think at that point I was never, I liked to make lists, and I would definitely, I was big into journaling, and kind of at the time I didn't know what I was doing, because I wasn't in, I don't think that the sort of industry of self-help or goal setting, I hadn't really tapped into that yet. I just would write out fantasies in my journal. So I was visualizing.
Okay.
Without knowing that I was visualizing.
Yes.
I just was I would dream about it and share about it.
How do you get on Broadway within a year?
Well, I worked hard. I mean, I just went to open auditions. I was always in class. This is where I think where I say that the industry is not linear, which it's not, but if you don't work hard, you're definitely not going to get there. So I knew, I had a knowingness that I was meant to be a dancer. It was part of what I felt was my purpose on
And you've been
earth.
studying dancing
since I was 2.
So yeah.
So it was a part of my, it's a part of my DNA. It's a part of when people see me and when they see me perform, it's oh, this is part of your purpose. And I think part of my purpose, which as I get to a place where I've transitioned a little bit more away from dance, I always end up going back to it. And I think one of the things that I envision is creating a dance company that involves educating children through movement and body awareness. And I've always wanted to have a nonprofit that gives children opportunities to learn about their bodies. And I've been inspired by several other that have been created that are similar to what I think I would like to do ultimately. So
I think that's what I noticed about you. It was your presence.
Thanks.
Even in a crowd, you look at you and you go, her presence, and I think it's your posture and just how you carry yourself. You have something. You have that it quality.
Thank you.
Where people stare.
Well, I think in dance there is a certain level of confidence that comes with it, because I know my body and how it takes up space.
And you're in your body.
Yeah.
You're in your core at all times.
Totally.
When I work out all the time, I feel completely different.
Yeah.
Compared to when I took a couple months off, I got off track, and it's oh my God, who is this? You don't feel like you don't.
Yeah.
And it shows, it translates. It really does.
Absolutely. And I've never not been it's funny, I making nutrition or workout a part of my life is something that I've never had to necessarily, I never lose it, because it's just a part of my being. If I haven't danced in a couple of days or sweat or something, I feels the barometer of everything is off for
Cranky
me,
pants.
because I grew up in the studio every day of my life pretty much since age 2.
Wow.
So I think that I knew I also was somebody who was fearless in terms of I think that there was another event that happened in my life that shifted where I had to where I lost a little bit of this fearlessness and then I had to come back to it. But in my early 20s, I remember I went to go see Wicked on Broadway, and I was like, I'm going to be in that show. Like, I just cried watching the show, and I had a friend in it, and I was so happy for her. I went backstage, and I was just like, this show, I could still cry thinking about it, because I remember seeing it in the message of these two powerful women and how it connected to The Wizard of Oz, which is so much a part of like my childhood, and I was like, I want to be in this show, and that was my first Broadway show. And I don't think that was by accident. Like, I was like, I know I can be in this show. I know I can add to this. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.